Good morning, guys. It's your boy Richie here. Today in this video, I am back with another Mustang video for you guys. So let's take this off so I can hear what I'm saying properly. There we go. Today in this video, as I was saying, today in this video is another Mustang video. Specifically, today in this video, I'll be talking to you guys about the Ford Mustang Boss 302. So this is a car I've wanted to do next, simply because of sorry. Simply because I've always been into the Boss 302 Mustangs. Always have been, always will be. Even though the original 302 Mustang does look like the 429 Mustang, which is this one right here, which is basically the same car. I'll call this a 302 on steroids, I would say. I call this Mustang a 302 on steroids because it looks exactly the same car but with little different details and all that stuff. Which, I don't know, I might talk about this car, I don't know. Presumably, I'm not really sure, but save this just in case. All right, so without any further ado, let's get started. But before I start, make sure you guys make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think, hit the notification bell, and hit all so you are alerted of when I make new uploads. And before I start, I actually got some good news to share with you all. I actually applied for a new job, because the old one that I got fired from was not really like my best favorite job in the world, but you know, I struggled a lot there, and I only worked there for a month. Can you imagine that? That's a huge fail for me. But you know, I've learned from my mistakes. I got a new job. Just don't know when I'm gonna work at that moment. For those that don't know what job I'll work at, is to do with sports. You know, like sports equipment and all that stuff. And sportswear, sports gear, all that kind of stuff. I applied for it, just don't know when I'm gonna start, but I will get an answer very soon at some point. I don't know when, but at some point I'll get an answer. All right. So, before I start, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, comment down below. Say like the video, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think, hit the notification bell, and hit all so you are alerted of when I make new uploads. All right, without any further ado, let's get started. So today in this video, I'll be talking to you guys about the Ford Mustang Boss 302. Now, this is a car I've always wanted to talk about for such a long time. Haven't had a chance to do so, but now I finally have got the chance of doing it. I got lucky of doing this car. All right, without any further ado, let's get started. So, Ford Mustang Boss 302. Here we go. The Ford Mustang, or the Mustang Boss 302, is a high-performance variant of the Ford Mustang, originally produced by Ford in in 1969 and 1970, alongside its more powerful sibling, the Boss 429 Mustang. Say the Boss 429 Mustang. Ford received the name. So Ford received the name for another 2-year production run in both my favorite years, 2012 and 2013. Can't go wrong with those years. Those years have been like great. Well, in fact, instead of great, brilliant is a better word. There we go. Brilliant. They've been brilliant. Really fantastic those years. Really, 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013. Those years are my favorites, and I'll always stick with those years for the rest of my life. Always have, always will. No doubt about that. And some people would agree with me, like 2013, for example, is like the best. Well, can't argue with that. Literally, they were just awesome. So, Ford received the name for another 2-year production run in both 2012 and 2013. In both 1969 and 1970, it was originally produced for the Trans Am Rally Series, not Rally Series, sorry, for the Trans Am Racing Series. There we go. Next up is overview as usual. The manufacturers by Ford. The production is from 1969 to 1970, and from 2012 to 2013. There we go. Its assembly. They're both assembled in Michigan, but there's a few differences in the places at Michigan. For the 1969-1970 version, it was assembled at Dearborn, Michigan. And for the 2012-2013 edition, it was assembled in Flat Rock, Michigan. So for the 1969-1970 version, it was built in Dearborn, Michigan. And for the 2012-2013 edition, it was built in Flat Rock, Michigan. So that's good. It's good. Say 1969, 1970, Dearborn, Michigan, and 2012-2013, Flat Rock. Yes, Flat Rock, Michigan. The designer is Larry Shinoda. Larry Shinoda, who is noted American automotive designer who was best known for his work on the Chevy Corvette and the Ford Mustang. Born March 25th, 1930, passed away November 13th, 1997, age 67. May rest in peace. So at that moment, so 2024, he would nearly be 94 years old. Man, blessed the old soul. May rest in peace. Man, it's crazy. So yeah, designer Larry Shinoda. May rest in peace. So the body and chassis next. The class is a muscle car. So the class is a muscle car. The body style is a 2-door fastback coupe. So you can get one as a 2-door. Actually, you can get it as a 2-door fastback or a 2-door coupe. Or coupe, as you can call it. Say body style, two-door fastback, or two-door coupe, or two-door coupe. Its layout is front engine rear-wheel drive. That's the proper layout. It's related to the to like all the other Ford Mustangs. Its powertrain is next. Say powertrain is next. For the engine, for the original one, for 1969, so 1969 to 1970, it had a 5-liter 302 CDI Boss 302 OHV overhead valve V8 naturally aspirated. So that's for the 1969-1970 edition. For the 2012 and 2013 edition, it had a 5-liter Roadrunner DOHC dual overhead cam naturally aspirated V8. That's for the 2012 and 2013 edition. The transmission for the 1969 to 1970 edition, it had a 4-speed manual, so that's good. And for the 2012 and 2013 edition, keeps getting better, it had a 6-speed manual transmission. That is awesome. If I had to pick one of those cars, the 4-speed or 6-speed, I'd take the 6-speed any day, because I like the original one, but the modern one it's got more modern brakes, modern suspension than its counterpart, the older version of the Mustang. So I would pick the modern one because it drives a lot better than the original one. Yeah, I do like the original cars, but I'm also into like the modern ones as well. Mainly from the early 2010s, so like 2011, 2012, 2013, and a little bit 2014 as well. Can't go wrong with that. So yeah. Alright, so transmission for the 1969-1970 edition had a 4-speed manual. And for the 2012-2013 edition, it had a 6-speed manual. So 6-speed is the way to go. Alright, so now we're on the first generation. First generation 1969 to 1970. Here we go. The Camaro / Mustang rivalry had begun in 1967 with the introduction of the Chevy Camaro by General Motors, or GM. The Camaro / Mustang rivalry had begun in 1967 with the introduction of the Chevy Camaro by General Motors. The Camaro was the largest threat to the lead Ford had in the pony car field. A market segment largely created by Ford with the introduction of the Mustang in mid-year 1964. The performance of the Mustang with 289 and 390 engines was not up to the Camaro. With its small block and big block V8, in an effort to improve the Mustang's image, Ford made a 428 Cobra Jet V8 and a Ford Boss 302 engine optional for the 1968 mid-year and 1969 models, respectively. The 1969-1970 Boss 302 Hypo engine was created In 1969, for the SCCA's 1969 Trans Am Road Racing Series. So SCCA stands for Sports Car Club of America. So Sports Car Club of America. So SCCA's or Sports Car Club of America's 1969 Trans Am Trans Am Road Racing Series. Not the Pontiac, but the racing series. So 1969 Trans Am Road Racing Series. Available in the Boss 302 Mustangs of 1969 to 1970. It's a unique Ford small block engine featuring a thin wall, high nickel content block casting. It differed substantially from regular 302s with 4-bolt mains, screw-in plugs, and heads using a canted valve design being developed for the planned 351 Cleveland, which is also known as the Ford 335 engine, the 335 V8, which debuted the following year. The construction was aided by the two engines sharing a cylinder head bolt pattern. Though the Boss 302 heads had to have their coolant passages slightly modified. This optional engine, and indeed the entire vehicle package, including handling and aerodynamic aids, was made available for the express purpose of meeting the homologation guidelines to compete in the SCCA Trans Am series, which limited engine displacement to 305 CID, which is 5 liters. 5 liters. In order to compete, the Boss 429 Mustang was born in a similar way, except with the intent of homologating Ford's new semi-Hemi 429 CID 7-liter V8 engine to race in NASCAR instead of Trans Am. The much larger engine in the Boss 429 reflects the less restrictive engine displacement limits of NASCAR at that time. The Boss 302 Mustang was styled by Larry Shinoda, a former GM employee, or General Motors employee. The car featured a reflective C-stripe, the fake air scoops The fake air scoops in the rear quarter panel fenders of the regular production 1969 Mustangs were eliminated on the Boss 302 models. A black horizontal rear window shade and a blackout hood or bonnet were both options. Were both options. It's because they're optional, but options is the way to go. So yeah, I was gonna say optionals. There we go. Optional, but options is the way to go. It was one of the first production models with both a front spoiler and a rear deck wing at the back. The name Boss came about when Shinoda was asked what project he was working on. He answered, the Boss's car, because the project was a secret. Also, Shinoda had called it the Boss as an homage to the new president a Ford. Saman Bunky Knudsen. I can't really say it. How do you even say it right?
Knudsen.
Huh?
Knudsen.
Knudsen. There we go. Knudsen. Who had brought Shinoda over from GM's Chevrolet or Chevy division after Knudsen had left. So after Knudsen had left. Changes for the 1970 model year included side hockey stick stripes, which started along the top of the hood, along with the 1970 grille, which replaced the 4 headlights with 2 vents in the outside position while retaining dual headlights within the grille opening. The dual exhaust system was redesigned. The dual exhaust system was redesigned along with the competition suspension and a standard Hurst shifter. Hurst is spelled Hurst and then shifter. The intake valves were slightly smaller. The intake valves were slightly smaller. The intake valves were slightly smaller, and cast aluminum valve. I can't even say. The intake valves were slightly smaller, and cast aluminum valve covers replaced the chrome. With a suggested price of $3,720, $3,720, a total of 7,013 were sold. God, imagine if that was the year. 7013, like, that would be absolute futuristic. Everything will really change. If that would happen, I don't know if it will or not. I'm just saying. Say, with a suggested price of $3,720, a total of 7,013 were sold. In addition to a lower ride height, standard equipment including front brakes, larger sway bars, heavier duty spindles, reinforced shock towers, a 4-speed manual gearbox, and the solid lifter Boss 302 V8 engine with its free-breathing Cleveland style heads, which had valves bigger than most engines, more than a third larger in displacement. This G-code engine was rated at 290 horsepower. The 1970 model could accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 0 to 60 miles an hour in 6.9 seconds. And a quarter mile time took 14.6 seconds, reaching a speed of 158 kilometers an hour, 98 miles an hour. Although Ford's drag pack option was with a special oil cooler was never formally offered on the Boss 302, it was often included with the 4.30 to 1, so 4.30 to 1 rear axle ratio. This coveted option is recognizable when the hood is opened to reveal Ford's vertically mounted oil cooler in front of the radiator. Ford also had an option for Boss 302s and 429s for deluxe interior rather than standard, standard interior. So next up is Trans Am Racing. But before I move on to that, I'm just gonna do a little info on Drag Pack. So for those who don't know what Drag Pack is, here it is. Drag Pack was Ford Motor Company's marketing name for an option package available in the US for some of its car models that included a remote-mounted oil cooler and higher ratio rear axle gear, plus engine components on some models. This option is printed on the factory invoice as Drag Pack, Super Drag Pack. So Drag Pack pack is without the C, or Super Drag Pack. It's kind of weird saying the same thing, but so for the last ones, basically, I'll just show you. As you can see, Drag Pack right here, these two have got like C's, the letter C between the A and the K, and these two have got, it hasn't even got the C right here. If you can see the little details right there. You see what's similar? This is what I'm talking about for Drag Pack cars. Say Drag Pack and Super Drag Pack. So 2 with the C for the word pack, and then the 2 without the C for the word pack. The spelling pack with P-A-K was used by the Lincoln/Mercury division of Ford. The only known exception is a factory-equipped Boss 302 Mustang with the drag pack option, so it's with a C, drag pack, option, which was not marketed by Ford as such or by any other name. At the start of the 1970 model year, Ford began installing the drag pack on approximately 10% of Boss 302 Mustangs. For those who are aware of it, this free drag pack upgrade was available simply by ordering a 4.30 rear axle ratio. The only known exceptions are 2 early production vehicles with 3.91 axle ratio, special factory orders which received the oil cooler, and 2 4.30 axle ratio vehicles which reportedly did not receive their intended oil cooler, possibly the result of a supply problem. The 4.30 axle ratio exceptions are insignificant in terms of establishing a meaningful pattern, as they represent a normal 1970 production line margin of error. So, although Ford's drag pack option was with a special oil cooler was never formally offered on the Boss 302, it was often included with the 4.30 to 1, so 4.30 to 1 rear axle ratio. This coveted option is recognizable when the hood is opened to reveal Ford's vertically mounted oil cooler in front of the radiator. Ford also had an option for Boss 302s and 429s for deluxe interior rather than standard interior. Okay. Sorry if I just read this again, but you guys already know. So I literally forgot where I was. I just had to say it again so you guys would know. All right, next up is Trans Am Racing. Then we got Australian touring cars and collectability. All right, so now Trans Am series, Trans Am Racing. There we go. The SCCA, Sports Car Club of America, Trans Am series, was popular in the late 1960s, especially after the birth of the pony car, a type of stock car, a type of stock car, say stock car, which is part of the NASCAR series or NASCAR circuit. I forgot. A type of stock car racing. So yeah, a type of stock car racing usually held on road courses. Um, the series limited maximum engine displacement to 5 liters, say 5 liters or 305 cubic inches. In an effort to be competitive, various Detroit car manufacturers produced a number of variants of their usual pony car lineups in both road and track trim for homologation purposes. Equipped with high-performing variants of their small 300-inch class V8 V8 engines in order to make as much power as possible from the limited displacement. The Boss 302 program was part of an effort by the Ford Motor Company to win the coveted SCCA Trans Am championship in 1969 and 1970. Penske Camaros had Penske Camaros had triumphed in 1968 and 1969. Team Penske switched to AMC Javelin the following year. So the Boss 302's direct competition in the 1970 series were the A.A.A. Cudas, which are the Plymouth Barracudas, the Pontiac Firebird, the Team Chaparral Camaros, and the Penske AMC Javelins. The Ford entry for 1969 and 1970 was the Boss 302 Mustang. In 1969, 2 factors prevented victory. First one was tire trouble, and the second one was slow pit stops. With Roger Penske, A.K.A. the organizer, as Chevy's racing team manager, the pit stops were magically choreographed, so both choreographed and organized to perfection. When pit stop times between both Mustangs and Camaros are compared, it turns out Ford lost several races in the pits. Ford was also using Firestone brand tires, which gave them trouble in 1969. In 1970, they switched to Goodyear. The factory effort was held up by Bud Moore. His full name is Walter Maynard Bud Moore Jr., born May 25th, 1925, passed away November 27th, 2017. Same. May rest in peace. Who was a NASCAR car owner who operated the Bud Moore engineering team. A decorated veteran of World War II, he described himself as an old country mechanic who loved to make him run fast. So he was born and he passed away in his hometown in Spartanburg in South Carolina. Age 92. Man, years of service 1943 to 1945. He was ranked as a sergeant. His unit is the 359th Infantry Regiment and the 90th Infantry Division. Battles and wars was World War II. So yeah, World War II. Battle of Normandy, Battle of the Bulge, and Siege of Bastogne. I can't really say it that well, but it's a place in Wallonia in Belgium. So it's spelled Bastogne. His awards for the military had five Purple Hearts and 2 Bronze Stars. In total, 7 of these. It's pretty good. And for NASCAR, he Stock Car Racing Hall of Fame in 2002, International Motorsports Hall of Fame in 2009, and NASCAR Hall of Fame 2011. So yeah, Ford was also using Firestone brand tires, which gave them trouble in 1969. In 1970, they switched to Goodyear. The factory effort was held up by Bud Moore, who fielded 2 cars in the 1970 season. So in the 1970 season, and won the championship that year. The Bud Moore Mustangs edged out Team Penske's Javelins and led Penske driver Mark Donohue lost out to Bud Moore driver Parnelli Jones, who's an American former professional racing driver and racing team owner. He's notable for his accomplishments while competing in the Indy 500 and the Baja 1000 Desert Race and the Trans Am Championship Series. In 1962, he became the first driver to qualify over 150 miles an hour. He won the race in 1963, then famously broke down while leading the 1967 race with 3 laps to go in a turbine car, which was I think it was the STP Paxton turbo car. I don't understand this car. Is this one right here? Look at it. That I don't get. I really generally don't understand this car. Say the Bud Moore Mustangs. Say the Bud Moore Mustangs edged out Team Penske's Javelins and led Penske driver Mark Donohue lost out to Bud Moore driver Parnelli Jones. Then in 1971, AMC came out with a redesigned Javelin and returned to the track with ex-Mustang driver George Fulmer. So his full name is George Richard Fulmer, born January 27th, 1934, who is an American former auto racing driver and one of the most successful road racers of the 1970s. He was born in Phoenix, Arizona. His family moved to California when he was just an infant. Seriously, that's true. So yeah. So then in 1971, AMC came out with a redesigned Javelin and returned to the track with ex-Mustang driver George Fulmer and Mark Donohue. With Mark Donohue, there we go, behind the wheel of the AMC Javelin, the Mustang and the others were defeated in 1971. And again with George Fulmer driving the Javelin in 1972. Next up is the Australian touring cars. So the factory effort was held up by Bud Moore, who fielded 2 cars in 1970. One championship of the year. The Bud Moore Mustang edged out Team Penske's Javelins, and my Penske driver Mark Donahue lost out to Bud Moore driver Barney Jones. And in 1971, AMC came out with a redesigned Javelin and returned to the track with ex-Mustang driver George Fulmer and Mark Donahue. With Mark Donahue behind the wheel of the AMC Javelin, the Mustang and the others were defeated in 1971, and again with George Fulmer driving the Javelin in 1972. Alright, next up is Australian touring cars. Here we go. Australian touring cars. The Boss Mustang platform expired racing success in Australia with Canadian-born driver Alan Moffat, or Moffat, I can't really say it well. Born on November 10th, 1931 in Saskatchewan at the Canadian province of Saskatchewan in Canada. Say Saskatchewan, Canada. Saskatchewan, Canada. There we go. Say Saskatchewan, Canada. So the Boss Mustang platform. Experienced racing success in Australia with Canadian-born driver Alan Moffat driving his Coca-Cola sponsored Mustang. So yeah, Coca-Cola sponsored Mustang to a recorded 101 wins from 151 starts. It's had 50 more starts than wins. Moffat's car was a gift from Ford's American in-house race car fabrication and engineering facility, Carcraft. So car is without the C, but it's with a K. K-A-R, and it's the same with craft. Instead of C, it's with a K. So K-R-A-F-T, so Carcraft. And finished off by BME, Bud Moore Engineering. Moffat raced the Mustang in the ATCC, American Touring Car Championship from 1969 to 1970. Although he failed to place in the top 10 in 1969, he finished 6th in 1970, second in so he finished 6th in 1970, second in 1971, and third in 1972. As of December 2012, favorite year, that was the year of my birthday. It was like when I was like just like turning like 7 years old, around there, yeah. So although he failed to place in the top 10 in 1969, he finished 6th in 1970, second in 1971, and third in 1972. As of December 2012, this car has been fully restored to original and is owned by Queensland-based collector David Bowden, who regularly shows the car at historic events throughout Australia. Alright guys, I'll be back.